but to the railways that made them. So let us see exactly how the railways do it. Here is the shipyard manager, a foreman, and the man responsible for steel supplies. It is this third man to whom the manager is addressing his demand for steel plates, 200 tons of them, so that the riveting can start on Thursday morning. That's the order, 200 tons of steel plates by Thursday morning. Over to the steelworks. Yes, says the transport manager there, we've got the plates, but has the railway the wagons available to carry them? So now, it all depends on the railway. The transport manager's first step is to contact the LMS at Rutherglen. That's right, about 15 wagon loads, by Thursday morning. At Rutherglen, the goods agent takes the order and decides on his course of action. First of all, a look round the yard and a word with the shunter. Questioning him, he learns that there are 4 empty plate wagons on hand and 2 more due from Polmaddy. 6 in all. Not enough. He immediately rings up control, whose whole life is concerned with wagons of all kinds. Wagons bringing tools, poles, engines, castings, sheet metal, timber, paint, chains and cables, and much else besides, chiefly limestone, coal, and coke for the foundries that feed power to the shipyard. Without a steady supply of steel, the ships could never be built. But without the railways and the thousands of wagons that travel on them, the steel could never even reach the places where they are built. On the LMS railway system alone, there are 4 major shipbuilding centres, at Belfast, Barrow, on the Mersey, and on the Clyde. It is interesting to note that this railway, in addition to playing such an important role in the transporting of steel to the shipyards, is also a user of ships itself. In the Clydeside shipyard, there are vessels under construction destined for service on the LMS shipping route. Already, there are nearly 60 LMS vessels in service, linking up with the railway. Other LMS steam services operate at Heysham, where a regular service is run to Northern Ireland, on Lake Windermere, and also at Stranraer, Holyhead, Greenock, and other ports. To illustrate the magnitude of the railway's task in the transportation of steel plate alone, look at the huge hull of this liner, for the making of which literally acres of steel plate are required, and all of it having to be brought to the spot by rail. The engines, too, they came by rail, piece by piece, casting by casting. Again, their huge propellers were brought by rail over a great distance. So was all the timber for her cabins and decking. behind the safe and prompt arrival of all these items is a story. A story of skillful organization and far-sighted planning. It is the story behind the long lines of wagons you see while waiting at a station. All these wagons, however lost they may appear to the casual onlooker, have a specific purpose and a prescribed destination. Take a look at these 4 long, low wagons. They are plate wagons. 4 of the 15 that are going to carry the steel plate that is wanted at the shipyard. They're on their way now to the steelworks where they will be loaded. So the story that began in the goods agent's office is really moving now. These wagons, gathered in from outlying yards and sidings, have now reached the marshalling yards near the steelworks. But remember, none of this happened by chance. It was part of a careful plan. The goods agent, who is really the station master of a station where goods and not passengers are handled, knew, as we saw, exactly how many of the required wagons were available at his reception siding. These were not enough to meet the demand, and this is where the people at control came in. Control is the nerve center of a district and has power over all goods yards, marshalling yards, passenger stations, and the interconnecting network of railroads, signal boxes, and engine sheds. The official in charge of rolling stock knew at a glance just how many of the wanted plate wagons were available at other stations in the correct area. He knew exactly where they were to be found because, at set intervals, every day, he receives reports from all the outlying yards giving him all the information he needs. He has now managed to locate enough wagons to bring the total up to 12. He wants 3 more. But they are resourceful people at control, and so another phone call is made, this time to our higher nerve center, the divisional control, which is in touch with the movement of all traffic throughout the whole of Scotland and is known to railwaymen as the Northern Division. This is the LMS Railway's Northern Division, containing several district control areas, one of which is connected with the business of getting plate wagons for the steelworks. In the LMS system, there are 4 of these divisions, each with a central control. Each one is linked with its surrounding districts. It is because the districts, and in turn the divisions, keep in constant touch with each other, and all railway movement is carefully coordinated, that the trains, both freight and passenger, can run to regular schedules, and additional trains can be laid on without disrupting existing services. Were it not for all this work of the railway's backroom boys, the shipbuilders would never get their 15 wagons, neither would we be able to travel in speed and safety and be sure of getting our food and letters and newspapers on time. Some freights present the railway with difficult problems. The out-of-gauge load is one of them. This is where the LMS engineers and officials who are specialists at this kind of problem come in. The out-of-gauge load is simply a railway term for a large consignment which, because of its size, cannot travel over its rail route without special precautions being taken to prevent it colliding with other traffic, bridges, signals, tunnels, and platforms. In railway parlance, it would foul the loading gauge. The loading gauge is simply a device showing the narrowest limit through which a load will pass on any given stretch of line. To avoid all risk of accident or damage to the load, careful measurements are taken and plans are made. Then the railway civil engineers must decide by which route the lifeboat shall travel, carefully noting the widths and heights of all bridges, tunnels, platforms, etc., between the beginning and end of the lifeboat's journey. Many intricate calculations are often necessary, and arrangements must be made with other districts for the load to be diverted so as to avoid obstruction, and other traffic stopped so that the load may arrive safely. Thursday morning at the Clydebridge steelworks. The promised wagons have arrived, have been loaded, and are ready for dispatch to the shipyard. And here, let us not forget him of all people, is another link in the railway's vast organization, the man whose job it is to take these wagons from the steelworks to the shipyard. He is as much a vital factor in the plan as anyone we have already seen, for without him, the engine driver, the plates would remain in the steelworks, the ship would remain on the stocks, and the shipyard workers would be out of work. So we come to the beginning of the end of the story, the first and last journey that these steel plates will make on land. Hurry up and clear the line. This stuff's urgent. Where are you going, Bill? Me? I'm going down Clydeside. Just as soon as I've got my freight. From the surrounding districts, from a yard here and a siding there, the wagons have been gathered together and loaded, and without fault or delay, the plan has been executed. Telegrams, traffic lists, and columns of figures have been transformed into a line of 15 wagons loaded with 200 tons of steel plates. Thursday morning at John Brown Shipyard. The riggers, the riveters, the anglesmiths, the cranemen, all the many hundreds of workers flock to the workshops and slipways, and most of them, remember, have come from the outlying districts by rail, thanks again to masterly traffic organization. The shipyard manager, the foreman, and the man responsible for steel supplies have got their steel plate on time. So work on the ship can go forward as scheduled. Once more, the railway has made its essential contribution to the building of ships, small and great, that are destined to serve the nations of the world.